What is going on, everybody? My name is Strifium, and it is Thursday, which means it's time for some MRL action. Joining me, as always, is Mikal. Mikal, how you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic, Striff. I can't wait to see what show these drivers put on for us today. Now that the season's over, I'm sure there'll be a little less stress in the air, but then again, this is Monaco, so anything can happen today.
Of course, it's Monaco, a circuit that none of these drivers thought they would be seeing this season. Of course, last week we wrapped things up in Suzuka for round 17 of season 2. And that capped off the season. But, of course, as we are not just yet into F1 2020, we decided it's time for some exhibition action on, one of the circuits we didn't visit in that season. And, of course, it's going to be Monte Carlo, the Monaco Grand Prix. I am super excited for this one. Of course, we are going to have full damage on, in case anybody was wondering, as we are doing the exact same rules that these drivers had to abide by through this season.
Yeah, I'm sure the streets of Monte Carlo need no introduction from the Formula One community. Very tight, very slow, but you can't, go into autopilot even for a moment around these streets. Especially in the first couple laps, it's going to be pretty tight for all these drivers. So I'm curious to see how they handle this challenge.
Yeah, and I do believe we're going to have, next to a full grid, we are ready whenever they are. I do believe we're just waiting for the clock to strike down to race time. It is going to be, like I said, short qualifying. So we'll have to see how these drivers handle the Monaco circuit here.
Yeah, I'm quite curious to see how these drivers cope with the qualifying conditions, because qualifying is more important than the race here at Monaco, since it's so hard to overtake just because it's so narrow. And the only real passing opportunity is into Saint Devote. We've seen people do a couple overtakes at La Rascasse and into the Nouvelle Chicane if you're ballsy enough on the brakes.
Yeah, and
So
another
not
thing, sorry to interrupt, another thing too, Mikal, is none of these drivers know what chassis they're being dealt here.
No, that is a correct, Strifium. So they are going to be having that little bit of randomness in today's race, but hopefully it's nothing that the drivers aren't too familiar with. Of course, a lot of them participating regularly in open lobbies held by yourself and of course our founder Zamus. So
It's true.
hopefully that doesn't impact them too much, but you never know.
Well, I know some of them definitely do have their favorites. I know I do. And we'll have to see if it plays a role here. It's just going to be very different for us, of course, looking at all of these drivers perhaps driving completely different vehicles than we're used to as well. Might get a little bit confusing at times. We'll see. Although Monaco, it's going to be a very, very different race than what we're used to as far as overtaking, that's for sure. And I do believe it's going to be
Yeah.
16 drivers.
Yes, not quite a full grid, but that's still a whole lot for the streets of Monte Carlo. Probably more than it can handle. It can probably only handle like about 3 or 4 in these kinds of cars. Let's be honest.
I'd have to say 16 is quite a large driver count. I know most drivers opt to miss Monte Carlo. I was very hesitant driving it in my league this previous season for PPR.
Yeah, Monaco is one of those tracks that you either love it or you hate it. Just speaking with a couple of the drivers on multiple leagues, some drivers love driving it, love the challenge, love the thrill of just simply driving around this historic circuit, whereas others completely despise it, just for its sheer difficulty. You've got walls either side of you basically all the time, and just one slight error, and there goes your front wing, or at least a portion of your front wing, which is very detrimental around a circuit like Monaco, where downforce is everything. But nevertheless, we are about to load into the lobby, and we'll see who can set the fastest time around the streets of Monte Carlo. It is now the short qualifying ahead of the race for MRL, the exhibition race around Monaco, to finish off F1 2019.
I'm very excited. And if I'm not mistaken, it's going to be a night race here, right? I think Henry promised us a night race. So, Monaco night race.
If it is a night race, that'll be even, more exciting, more of a spectacle, and probably even more of a challenge for these drivers. Nevertheless, we press on. Just waiting to load in, and it is
a night race. It's a night
qualifying
at the very least.
Yeah.
So we have Yoda in a Racing Point, which I have to laugh at because he consistently makes fun of me whenever I have to drive in the Racing Point. Bois in a McLaren. We have Dr. Dino making his MRL debut here in this exhibition over at Haas. CJ in a Red Bull. Zamis is in a Mercedes Macau with Rackety in a Toro Rosso. Wisp in a Mercedes as well. Nigel in a Williams. Okay, that's fitting. Freeware and Gadwin both in Renaults. Henner's taking up an Alpha with John, the other Haas now. Astrodite getting the only Ferrari, or excuse me, is that Max Inkster as well?
Max is also in the Ferrari.
Very interesting.
Two Ferraris. Alex Bitter will be in the other McLaren to partner Bois. Got to watch out for that. That rivalry in the McLaren garage. And Swifty will take the second Red Bull along with CJ. And we already have some cars out on track.
I believe Freeware is the first out.
Yeah, Freeware just making his way through the hotel hairpin and into Portier. So he'll be the first to start one of the laps.
I don't believe Freeware has had the opportunity to race in MRL as of yet. I think this may be his pseudo debut, although it's not an official race.
Yeah, that'd be the same with Dr. Dino as well. So I'm curious to see how these guys fare in the grid. So as Freeware makes his way towards La Rascasse, why don't we ride on board with him to take you around a lap of the streets of Monte Carlo's drift. So coming across the start-finish line, have to be careful of those two cars. Exiting the pit lane into Sandford. Take it nice and gingerly on this first lap. And then you go up the hill into Beau Rivage. Then turn number 3, Massenet. As we already have a retirement at Antino, it seems, but nevertheless, Freeware carrying a fair bit of speed through Casino. And then into Mirabeau. This very, very slow section. You just have to be so patient with the throttle. Slow and fast out. That's the golden rule for any racing driver, but especially around that section of circuit, and then into the tunnel. The next sort of flat out section, trying to spot that 100-meter board, braking just after that for the Nouvelle chicane, using all the curb that you can, but being careful not to take too much, otherwise you will invalidate your lap. And then into Tabac, and then the fast swimming pool section, you really have to hold on for dear life as you've got walls closing in left, right, all around you. And then into La Rascasse, first gear, up to short shifter to second gear, trying to get that extra traction out of that traction zone, then through Anthony Noakes and across the line, and it will be a 1:10.0 to start us off here in Monaco.
Very nice lap from him. In the Renault for sure. Now, one thing you may notice on this grid is it is a mixture of drivers you saw throughout this past season from both tiers 1 and 2. Which will give us some unique battles as Nigel, Gadwin from Tier 2 are joining us here with some of the Tier 1 drivers, as is CJ. And I do believe we saw Swifty throughout this past season as well as a reserve driver at one point. If I'm not mistaken.
I don't think you're wrong there, but he will come across the line in third with a 1:11.1 as the times are already starting to tick down. Striffium Nigel going provisional pole so far with a 109.4. That's not too shabby from the Williams driver.
Zamis jumping into fourth now. He just crossed the line with a 110.226 in that Mercedes. I believe Gadwin is going to be coming up to finish a lap now in the Renault as well.
Let's see what he can do on the hard tires, no less. So it might not be the fastest time out there. And it's a 113.8, slowest of the current goers, and he goes off into the escape road to let some cars through.
That's Wisp behind him in that Mercedes, just starting a lap. I believe Yoda into the pits now. So if I'm not mistaken, the Red Bulls are both flying at the moment.
Yep, and they're both going into the pits.
Now that is unfortunate.
Oh, there's a Williams. I think that's Nigel having a bit of an accident at La Rascasse. So even in qualifying, these drivers are becoming victim to the walls at Monaco. I think just getting a true taste of what to actually expect, how much focus you actually need around this circuit. And it's a lot of laps this race. I believe it's 39 or so laps.
I believe you're
38,
correct.
39?
Yeah, you're close. I think it's 39. Wisp now in the Mercedes, currently yet to set a lap, crossing the line. What's it going to be? A 111.656 invalidated, I believe.
Yeah, and he's now got that Pink Panther of Yoda right in front of him. So it's probably not ideal for the Mercedes.
I don't believe he will be able to set a lap here. He's got very low battery left in that ERS system.
Well, he seems to still be pushing, so he thinks he just wants to get a lap on the board.
Alex
No,
Bitto
maybe
behind them on a flyer as well.
You've got to keep an eye on Alex. Of course, one of the newer additions to the MRL grid, and I find it quite fitting that he's actually in a McLaren. You know, because he's Spanish, Fernando. But nevertheless,
Well, Sainz.
and Sainz as well. True.
Well, Sainz would be the current Spaniard over there at McLaren, of course. Wisp now rounding the final few turns. He's going to go ahead and try and set another lap here. It's looking good. Into ninth at 111.6. Meanwhile, that's Alex. As you said, you got to keep an eye on Alex. So 109.6, and he's on the front row.
Yeah, so far no one able to topple Nigel's first time of a 109.4. It is a fast lap time, but I'm sure that will be beaten sometime in the next 10 minutes.
Yes, of course, as the track continues to evolve here and rubber in, Yoda in the racing point now, currently 13th, yet to set a time, making his way through the tunnel.
Why isn't the actual race at Monaco at night? This looks absolutely amazing.
It does look good, doesn't it? Quite stunning.
Oh, Yoda hit the tap with the wall there at the exit of the back. That's not going to be ideal. And he taps it again at the exit of the swimming pool. It's missing one of those end plates, getting very close to the wall at La Rascasse. So definitely more time to find. But he'll come across the line to set a 111.8. That is something good enough for P11 at the moment.
I think it was just at a point for him where he needed to get a time on the board. He wasn't invalid on that lap. Yeah, he had that contact, but he needed to get a lap up, so he just carried through.
Yeah, I mean, it is very, very easy to invalidate your lap around here. Saint-Devote, very strict with its limits. You have to take all of that inside curb to carry as much speed as you can up the hill into Beaurivage and Massenet. And also that Nouvelle chicane, very, very tight on the limits as well. Trying to push the limits on those curbs, trying to make it as straight as you can. But while we're looking at Yoda, Blois actually outdid Alex Bitto for that front row slot with the 109.49. So it's very close between these top two at the moment. Only 400s in it.
Very quick from them for sure. Meanwhile, Zamis crossing the line, disrupting that 2-3 for McLaren with a 109.543. Beautiful lap from him. Meanwhile, Freeware in the Renault beginning a flyer, making his way through Sector 1.
He's making his way towards Mirabeau. Seems to be pretty tidy so far. Makes his way through the hairpin. Now into the second part of Mirabeau and into Portier. Then it's full gas down the tunnel. Let's see, trying to spot that braking point for the chicane. He's using a lot of curb. It looks like it's still valid though. So well done from the Renault. Makes his way through Sector 3, through the swimming pool. You flip the car right, then left, left, then right. And then into Larascas.
This is looking
Get
good.
a pretty good exit. Looks like a quick lap. What time is it going to be? It's going to be, oh my goodness, it is 5 milliseconds off provisional pole with a 109.456.
Very, very rapid from the Renault driver. Now, I do believe we saw Zamis leave the session here. I don't know if he's suffered some kind of connection issue over on his end. Perhaps if we could get that looked into there, Mr. McGow.
Yeah, I'm on it. Don't worry.
Ooh, Swifty on a flyer here, heading through the swimming pool section. Through that last chicane, took a nasty bump on that outside wall. He's going to head down into the pit lane now. Rackety in the Toro Rosso flying. Looking to set a time. He sets a P9, Mikau, 111.5.
It's very strong from the Toro Rosso. You see him in a Ferrari. But, Ferrari, Toro Rosso, both Italian. So, sort of the same thing, right?
Oh, Scuderia Toro Rosso, Scuderia Ferrari, Now going to be known as the Alpha Tauri here in the next season. Meanwhile,
yeah, I might just say I love that livery.
It is a beautiful livery. Henry now flying through Sector 1 in the Alpha.
Just keeping an eye on Gado, and he's making his way around the last couple of corners. He's 8/10 up apparently. So he's making his way across the start-finish line now. And he'll improve by over a second, but it's still not enough to get him out of that P13.
Dr. Dino coming through the last couple turns now. Appears to be suffering for some lag issues. What's the time going to be? 118. Henry.
So 110. 110.9. I'll put him P9 at the moment. Going back with Henry.
It delayed his jump on my screen. Very
Yeah,
odd indeed. Nice lap from him.
But Henry will beat him for that pace 10 spot. The 110.8. With just under 5 minutes remaining in this qualifying session.
This is an extremely rapid grid, Mikau, especially in that top 5. It is scary how close those 5 drivers are. The 2 McLarens, of course, Zamis in the mix with Freeware and Nigel on the front row. I don't know what to expect from this race between those 5 drivers. Astrodate isn't that far behind either. Of course, it is Monaco. Qualifying is extremely crucial. But there are still overtaking opportunities, and it's going to be very interesting to see how some of those scenarios unfold.
Yeah, the one that is, eluding me is Yoda, sitting there in P7. So Yoda, our runner-up in MRL Tier 1 for season 2, so probably isn't too happy with his position right now. But he's running out of time to really improve on that.
If we're
Yeah,
talking,
just under 4 minutes remaining.
yeah, yeah, and if we're talking about points, technically speaking, after MRL season 2, he is, with the absence of Zamayo, the most experienced driver on the grid today, and you know, he's used to being in a McLaren, so he's having to adapt. And of course, none of the drivers thought they'd be seeing Monaco.
Oh, hello, Bois. Taking provisional pole, going 2/10 faster than his nearest competitor, Nigel. Will set a 109.2. That's a blistering lap from the McLaren.
Meanwhile, Alex, who appeared to be on a flyer, looks like he may have had an issue.
It looks like he's still pushing for the time being, making his way into the Nouvelle chicane. It's so hard to get that angle right.
Definitely a tricky angle to nail down for sure.
Yeah, because you have to cut as much of the curb as you can, like just enough to keep it in bounds.
Ooh.
Oh, it goes straight on Raskas.
The frustration from Alex.
Yeah, these drivers can't afford to get frustrated at the circuit, you know. I know they're pushing as hard as they can, but they get frustrated during the race, especially behind another car who's slower than them. That could be race over for them very, very easily around these parts.
Oh yes, it's a battle. It's you don't have a moment to rest here. CJ
No,
in the Red Bull now. I do believe he's gearing up for a flyer.
yep, he's trying to charge that battery as much as he can before he starts his lap. Saw Jean a little while ago in the Haas cross the line to go P6 for 110.4.
Now I do believe
CJ Bertrand,
Zamis
now
is back
starting his lap.
as well.
Just gotta...
I think he may be on a flyer actually, and he is.
Yeah, so Zamis currently sitting P4, 3/10 behind provisional pole. He's 2/10 up, heading through sector 1. So let's see what he can do to improve his time. Through the second part of Mirabeau, now into Portier. Gets a pretty decent exit, carrying a lot of speed. Making his way through the tunnel section now with just under a minute left in qualifying. So this will probably be his final run of the session. Into the chicane. There's a yellow flag ahead. That's not the dyno right in the middle of the track. That is certainly going to cost the Mercedes. But he's still 2/10 up. Oh, he gets a little bit hairy out of the swimming pool. Yellow flags ahead. But he'll come across the line. What will the time be? Oh, it's just not enough. Oh, that Haas being stuck there at the entry of back really wasn't ideal for the Mercedes. And I think that's cost them pole position at the moment.
Meanwhile, Wisp, the other Mercedes, improves by a 10th, but it's not enough to secure him a better position, unfortunately. Most drivers now crossing that checkered flag. Not too much of a shake-up. I do believe Swifty, beginning his flying lap just at the end of qualifying here, going to have the opportunity to get one last time set, so we'll follow him through.
Yeah, he makes his way through Mirabeau now. And then into the hotel hairpin. Now it changes its name every year based on what the hotel is actually called. I believe for now it's the Fairmont hairpin. Oh, but he touched the wall out of Portier, and that's the lap ruined. So it just goes to show how crucial your concentration is at all times.
Now Wisp still flying here. I don't know if he's going to be able to improve. Didn't
He's
quite catch that last sector time.
I don't think so. Might be close. And he doesn't improve. So that will be your grid for this exhibition race. So Bois taking that pole position with a 109.2, and Zamis just behind him, only 400ths of a second in it between those two. Nigel 2/10 behind, couldn't improve on his first flying lap. He'll start P3, and that's just incredibly close. But of course, Monaco is a race of attrition, so got to keep your nose clean, especially, well, the entire race really, but especially these first couple laps, as it's going to be really, really crowded.
Oh, most definitely. Max Inkster there at the bottom in the Ferrari, unfortunately unable to set a lap due to some issues that he crashed there through the qualification. Not too sure what happened to him, but Bois on pole position, as you said, Miguel.
And it will be a night race as well, so this will be quite the spectacle. Just waiting for all these drivers to finalize their race strategies, make any alterations to the setup that they can, and get ready for the task at hand. You know, nothing can mentally prepare you for a 50% race at Monaco.
This was
Absolutely nothing.
This was kind of just sprung on them as well. You know, they were kind of only given 2 days notice for this event. We decided, you know, we wanted to keep the racing going here on the Thursdays, so we took a vote really between the 4 circuits that we hadn't raced in this past season. Monaco happened to be the ticket, and so I think everybody voted. I think everybody knew it was coming, but of course these drivers didn't see it coming well in advance like they did the other circuits they raced throughout this season. Of course, they didn't have a calendar listing Monaco.
Yeah, so in terms of tyres, of course, the top 10 starting on those soft compound that they qualified on. But from 11th down, you get free choice. So it looks like we have Wisp, Dr. Dino, Rackety, and Gadwin opting to start on that middle compound medium tires. We have CJ on the soft, so he's looking to get a good jump off the start, using that extra grip provided by that red striped tire, and Max Inkster at the back opting to start on the hard tires. So it looks like Max is committing to that survive the first couple laps mentality and avoid the carnage.
I just want to give a brief shout out to Mr. BTFU, who is unfortunately not driving with us today. He's just gifted a tier 1 sub to Mr. Walter in the chat, so congratulations to you, Mr. Walter. Thank you very much, BTFU.
We always appreciate the support. Really helps us out a lot. But I'm excited for this drift. This is going to be a cracker race.
The nighttime Monaco. Oh man. You know, and it's tier 2, tier 1 mashup as well, with some reserves to throw in the kink, throw in some kinks like freeware. You know, I think freeware is my dark horse if he can keep it clean off the walls there. I saw him on the formation lap take a nice chunk out of his front right wing. Fortunately for him, that gets fixed up ahead of this race.
Yeah, so we have 3, 4, 5 red lights ahead of the drivers at the streets of Monte Carlo. It's lights out and away we go. Looks like a pretty decent start from most of the grid. Looks like Freeware getting a bit of a jump there as they make their way through Saint Devote. I don't see any major collisions so far. There's a Ferrari at the back who's lost the wing. I think that's Max Inkster. They make their way into Massenet for the first time. Very, very tight between all these drivers. But it looks like no real major position changes except for the back. There's a little bit of wing there. Ooh. There's a bit of contact at Mirabeau.
That's Alex Bitto there.
And there's a safety car.
Very early
lap 1 safety car at Monaco.
Well, I have to say, Mick, yeah, we made it quite far here compared to some other races I've watched as far as safety car deployment. I've seen it happen at turn 1, of course. But, it's unfortunate to get that early safety car. Any tire changes you think going to be coming down the line here?
Oh, Henry picking up a 5-second penalty for a severe collision with Yoda. I don't see too many tire changes at this stage. I mean, track position is king, around here. So I don't think we'll see anyone pit unless they need to for damage.
Oh, that's Nigel into the pits. Out of the top 3.
Yeah. I think we're going to see a lot of action in the pit lane as Henry picks up another 5-second penalty, this time for speeding into the pit lane.
Ooh, he is not going to be happy about that. I think pissed would be the best way to describe how he's feeling at the moment.
Yeah, it's very, very unfortunate for the Alfa Romeo. But it looks like half the grid has opted to pit. So, interesting to see the tire choices here. So Nigel opting to get on the medium tires. Alex, Sean, Astrodite, and CJ opting for the hards. Wisp opting for another set of softs, it seems. Or just a set of softs. I believe you start on the mediums. And then the Alpha and Ferrari of Henry and Max Singster opting for the mediums. So a very mixed strategy for the time being.
Well, we've already seen a lot of intensity there through that first lap. Things were quite clean at the front. Not too sure what sparked it. It might have been that tap, I think, from... was that... Alex Bitto.
Yeah, that might have contributed to the little incident we had at Mirabeau, but it's Monaco. Like, something's bound to happen on the first lap. It's probably one of the only times these drivers have run cars at full fuel around the Principality. So, of course, braking zones become a lot larger. Grip is heavily reduced under these kind of conditions. But I think I think the safety car is actually a mixed blessing for some of these drivers. They sort of get to ease into it a little bit, as opposed to just going all gun ho at the start.
There should be a Monaco. There should be a Monaco setting in the next game. Anyone from our friendly neighborhood Codemasters is listening, to have a rolling start in Monaco, because I think we'd avoid a lot. At the very least, in unranked lobbies, I think a rolling start would be great. Big shout out to Mr. Fubar, Tier 1 MRL driver, for subscribing at Tier 1. Thank you very much, Fubar. Greatly appreciate your support, as always.
Yeah, so not too much action out here on track at the moment. Still just following that safety car. It should be coming in, this lap, I think, actually. Just waiting for the last couple of cars to catch the queue. Seeing all the drivers trying to get at least some heat into their tires. And there's the call. So the safety car will be in this lap. So it'll be up to Bois to pace the field in Sector 3. As he waits for that safety car to make its way into the pit lane. And it will be
I knew it.
Once again.
I knew it. He gave Bois a little love tap in the rear there as Bois was slowing things down, and I wasn't seeing it, but it came out, and he got a 5-second penalty under safety car conditions for it. Ooh, and he almost did it again. Again, very close from Zamis there on the rear of Bois. These drivers are away. Unfortunately for him, he did not take a secondary penalty.
Giving out through the second start. Looks like there are a couple of packs forming across the grid. You have your top 5 or so. Top 5, and then you have Rackety, another cork in the bottle further down the field, and then you have CJ rounding up the rear pack. But all these drivers seem to get away pretty cleanly.
That's Gadwin into the wall in the teardrop hairpin there. Alex hits him on the rear, and then Gadwin has an issue. Ooh, and Alex Bido's into him. It is not looking good down there at all. Very possible we could see a safety car come out of that. Gadwin doesn't even know what's going on in that Renault right now. He's got to get things turned around. We'll have to save you guys from that 16-point turn that he's got to make in that tight section of the circuit, but dear me, that was a big issue. But meanwhile, Nigel having to pass through Dr. Dino here.
At the hip. If you can, I think. Oh, no. We're still going, but Zamis is still all over the tail of that McLaren at the front of the grid, setting the fastest up the race so far for good measure. So he's definitely got some pace in that Mercedes. So you have a yellow flag in sector 3 as well. I think Alex and Jean both going to the pits for a second time, and Max Singster as well, and I'm sure, and of course Gadwin after that spin at the second part of Mirabeau.
That was definitely tough for him. As you can see, Alex Bido, Gadwin into the pits. Not too sure what happened there with Jean. Zamis currently less than half a second away from Bois right now. Just sticking with him as best he can through this race. No pressure to overtake at the moment. He has a little bit of a gap between him and the Renault driver Freeware in third at the moment. Meanwhile, Swifty J in fifth, trying to hunt down that racing point of Yoda.
Oh, it's a bit of end plate. I think that's a Mercedes end plate. It is. Zamis has clipped the wall at the exit of the swimming pool, so that's not going to help his pace at all.
Big shout out to Mr. Walter for the Tier 1 sub gift in the chat. Thank you for your support, my friend. Congratulations to Streamlabs on the gifted sub.
Glad to see that Streamlabs is getting some love in the chat.
Oh, Nigel looking really tight to Rackety up through Sector 1 right now, Mikhail.
Yeah, he's certainly closing in at a rate of knots on the back of that Toro Rosso. You can just see he's got so much more pace around this section of track. I don't think Rackety's got any kind of wing damage. He just seems to be struggling getting those tires up to temperature or something like that. But meanwhile, Nigel is all over him heading into the chicane. I'm just keeping one eye on this battle at the front because even with that wing damage, Zamis is still staying with the McLaren. It's just a testament to the true pace that he actually does have around this circuit.
Zamis looks like not slow here, and it's not a circuit I've had the opportunity to see him drive often. As Nigel looks for that inside, Rackety shuts the door.
You can see just how easy it is to defend around here. So Rackety, if he just places his car in the middle of the track, Nigel has nowhere to go. And he'll just be stuck behind that Toro Rosso. Unless Rackety makes a mistake. He goes a little bit deep into Mirabeau, but not quite an ideal passing opportunity. As Alex will set the fastest lap of the race so far with a 1:12.5 down in 12th position. So he's looking to make his way back up to the field. But yeah, as I was saying, it's so easy to just defend your position around here. So getting that track position is crucial.
Very fortunate is the Williams of Nigel as he just gently tapped the rear of that Toro Rosso coming out of the tunnel. But he's going to feel that one. He is definitely going to feel that one, Mikhail. Not a good tap into the wall there at all. He is going to go into the box. Yeah. Freeware starting to really pick up some pace behind that Mercedes as Zamis is dealing with some damage.
He's bringing Yoda along with him for good measure. Yeah, we saw Zamis tap the wall a little bit earlier in this race, just at the exit of the swimming pool. He's missing that right end plate. There's actually a lot of cars close together as well, further down the field. It's like Aphrodite getting past Dr. Dino, and Henry will as well. Around the outside of Mirabeau. And Alex and Nigel are really close together as well, fighting for that P11 spot. So there are battles happening around the track. It's just so hard to overtake around this circuit that can't really seem to make these moves stick.
Definitely high intensity between Nigel and Alex, as these guys were in the top 5 when this race began, and they do not want to be in 11th and 12th at all right now, as Zamis is into the pits. Let's see where he comes out, serving what looks to be like a stop-go penalty here.
Yeah, for that collision earlier with Bois under the safety car.
Oh, of course.
We'll get that nose changed. I think he'll pop out just behind the 2 Red Bulls. Might actually jump them. It's going to be close. Oh, but not close enough. So Zamis will come out in P10. But he still stays ahead of Alex and Nigel, which is very, very important for the Mercedes driver.
Yeah, but Alex isn't waiting around. You can see the gap between him and Zamis right now isn't big at all.
Yeah, only a second and a half separating those two. But a gap that is even tighter is the 2 Red Bulls. Christian Horner must be having a nightmare at the moment. These 2 drivers very, very close. They've gotten close to crashing on multiple occasions, I think, so far of the past few laps. Swifty, Clinton overtakes. CJ's leaving the door open. Going defensive as they go side by side into the chicane. And it looks like Swifty might just get that move done. They're still side by side heading into Tabac. Oh, Swifty getting very close to that outside wall.
I have
but
to
he'll
say,
make the move stick.
That was something else. That was something else what we just witnessed there. For both of those drivers to come out of that unscathed, that is a certain degree of success for both of these guys right here.
Sorry to interrupt there, but the driver that hasn't come out unscathed is Max Singster. He's had a crash out of Massenet. And a full course caution, the full safety car is out. You can just see him to that left-hand side, and Rackety gets a drive-through.
Rackety, say it isn't so. You're in 4th position. You take a drive-through penalty. Plus, you're probably going to be looking to get off those 9-lap old mediums at some point. That is going to hurt.
Yes, these drivers can pit for hards to make it to the end of the race. They won't be the fastest thing in the world, but it does mean that you won't have to make another pit stop. And you can just defend your way to a decent position. So, wondering how many drivers will opt for that strategy. Looks like our race leader Bois is heading into the pits, as does Freeware, as does Yoda. So our top 3 runners all making their way into the box. See what kind of tires they choose to go on. Looks like Freeware's opting for a set of mediums, as is Bois, and Yoda's doing the same. So I think they feel that their tire wear or tire deg is good enough to make those mediums last. Personally, I don't know.
Now,
but,
am I mistaken, or did Bois get jumped in the pits by Freeware here?
That he did.
Very fortunate for Freeware to come out ahead. Now things slowing down up at the top of the hill, and Bois is not going to be happy about that. He takes a 5-second penalty for that tap in the rear of the Renault. The Renault, no fault to him. He was just following the drivers ahead. Very unfortunate there for Bois. Oh no, Mikkel.
Yeah, our race leader, who's been leading this race from lap 1, has now got a 5-second penalty and needs to pit again to change that front wing. Penalty is being handed all around.
Oh, and Alex Bitto just took a 10-second Mikkel for exceeding track limits. Now, these are things that you absolutely hate to see, but of course, these things are there for a reason. Safety car conditions, there shouldn't be any kind of contact or exceeding of the track limits being done. That's for sure. But that's terrible for Alex. Terrible for Bois.
Yeah, but it looks like Rackety has chosen to stay out for the time being, so Rackety is leading this race here in Monte Carlo. That's not something you see every day.
Leading, of course, until that drive-through penalty needs to be served.
That is very, very true.
He's going to have to serve that right as the safety car comes in, Mikhail, and he's going to have to wait a certain amount of time before he can enter that pit lane. So hopefully for him, he backs up that grid enough that the flag goes green, because if he enters that pit lane well under the yellow flags, I do believe it will send him in for a routine pit stop. And if he serves a pit stop and not a drive-through, I think that's his race over, Mikhail.
Oh, I think since he got it in under this particular safety car, he still has a couple of laps to serve it after the safety car ends. But you're right, it does need to be served fairly, shortly after the safety car period ceases. See all the drivers making their way gingerly through the hairpin.
And of course, I was just low-key trying to get Rackety completely anxious for this restart in the event that he might be listening.
Striffium the jokester.
Well, the moral of the story is don't take a drive-through penalty under safety car.
Yeah, I'm sure you know that better than anyone here. But
no, we won't talk about that.
Yeah, so just waiting on Gadwin to catch the queue. So the safety car will be going around for another lap. As the Renault driver attempts to make his way back to the field. No, still about 10 seconds behind him at this stage. But he's closing rapidly.
So that's the second full safety car here in this race. And 10 laps apart they were. So I've seen far quicker safety car deployments, that's for sure.
Yeah, of course, safety car, no stranger to the streets of Monaco. I'm sure Bird Maylander loves driving here. He gets to drive around here a lot.
Shout out to Tiger Racing, by the way. He said that I did have a penalty-free race last night in Abu Dhabi for our season finale. So thank you for that.
That is very true. I was there.
I did
for
it
that,
in Mexico too. If there wasn't, if it wasn't for Scooby-Doo and those meddling kids. No, yeah. Back to you.
Yeah, as you can see, it's quite casual up here in the commentary box. As we just waiting for the racing to get back underway. I'm sure, there's still a bit of stress in these drivers as we haven't even made it. I think we're just crossing a third of the race now at the end of this lap. So there's still a lot of running left to go, and still plenty of opportunities to lose an end plate.
Well, and there's a massive difference in tires on this grid, Mikhail, and just because you have worn tires doesn't necessarily mean you're getting by here in Monaco. And it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah. Well, the safety car has been called in this lap, so Rackety will have to, keep them at a consistent pace. Wait until that safety car makes its way into the pit lane, which I believe it has now done, so it's green flag running. Whenever Rackety says it is to go, and it looks like he's putting the pedal to the metal out of Anthony Noakes, and we are green flag racing once again. Swifty very close to the ghost car of Dino. Will make the pass into Saint-Devote, but these top three are very, very tight, heading their way up into Massenet Stryfium.
Freeware very tight to Rackety on the exit of turn 1. So close, in fact, he almost went into the rear of the Toro Rosso. Fortunately, able to get things slowed down just in time. Meanwhile, as I say that, the Renault of Yoda almost goes into the rear freeware. He has to shoot to the inside.
Well, I just made an incredible move down the inside of Jean into Mirabeau. So he's now trying to recover after that horrific safety car.
Alex Bitto coming up on the currently disconnected Haas driver of Dr. Dino. Gonna just pass right through him as ghosting's on here in Monaco. Meanwhile, Nigel in 9th is going to do just the same, trying to catch up with that McLaren. They're going to be looking to charge through the field as they have both now caught up to the Mercedes of Zamis. Meanwhile, Astrodate up into 9th, out past Dr. Dino, and he's just going to be continuously overtaken here throughout this race until he returns, should he return.
Yeah, well, Zamis makes his way past CJ Virtual. I think CJ might have left him, let him through there. I'm not super sure if he just got a really bad exit out of the last corner. But nevertheless, that Mercedes is now up into 5th and now has an opportunity to pull away from the rest of the field as Alex and Nigel will be stuck behind that Red Bull for probably another full lap.
This grid has absolutely tightened up majorly after that safety car and has stayed tightened up after that safety car as Alex takes an unfortunate 3-second time penalty after multiple warnings. Those aren't going to help him in his fight against Nigel right now, and it's not going to help him in his fight for P6. Meanwhile, Zamis is starting to pull away from that Red Bull of CJ. CJ goes into the wall. He's taking damage now, and he's going to be holding up everybody. Nigel goes up the inside.
Ooh, that's very, very tight. Oh my goodness, it's 2 abreast going into the swimming pool. These guys are crazy.
Now, I do believe Alex Bitto got tied up in some kind of incident through there. He's got a lot of wing damage on that McLaren, and he's gone into the pits now.
Oh, Freeware. Freeware's hit the wall at the exit of Anthony Nogue, so he's missing a lot of wing.
Oh, he's missing a massive amount of wing.
He's still managing to hold up the guys behind. This is absolutely perfect for Zamis. But Zamis needs to make his way past Swifty J as well.
Nigel, almost flying into the side of Freeware, just gets that Williams under control as he makes that move up the inside. Freeware trying to give him a little bit of space to get by. Henry now into 7th for the Alpha squad. And we're going to have to see what he does with the Renault ahead of him. Freeware kind of just, you know, not many areas he can let people by, nor does he have to at the moment. But Henry's showing so much speed, just going up the outside. A little bit of a wheel bang there through the turn, but you can see Henry able to get that move done. But now it's Astrodate into the rear Freeware. I do believe he took a bit of damage. His front left end plate is gone. Bois behind him now, and he goes into the right side. He takes some end plate damage, and there we go. So a little bit of a saving grace for some of these drivers as they're going to get those wings changed over. Oh man, Mikal, this is some intense driving. A lot of these drivers, you know, nothing on the line for any of them, making a lot of moves, taking a lot of risks, which is something that we haven't seen in MRL for quite a few races, considering the standings and the points battles. Not a lot of drivers taking crazy risks, right? They're just trying to stick to those points finishes. But here, Exhibition, everything on the, you know, nothing on the line, and they just want to put on a good show. And so far we're seeing quite a lot of crazy driving here. And when I say crazy, I mean great.
Yeah, it's a good kind of crazy, you know, just balls deep, you know, just really showing the amount of bravery from some of these drivers, you know, going to, you know, side by side through to back in the swimming pool. I don't think I've seen anybody attempt that before. That is some serious bravery and some serious trust in your fellow competitors to even attempt to race like that.
I don't mind seeing it though. I don't mind seeing it.
No, it's definitely frightening from the driver's perspective, I'll tell you that much.
As you can see the stops on screen now, a few drivers in this grid have had to stop 3 times now. 3 is the most we've seen anybody stop thus far. Zamis takes a 3-second time penalty after multiple warnings. He's currently in P9. Now, time penalties in Monaco, because the grid bunches up so much and stays bunched up so much for the most part, those times, they stay tight. And these time penalties are going to be affecting these drivers in a massive, massive way here at this race finish, Mikal.
Yeah, it looks like Zamis has had a bit of an issue under the safety car. He's going to need to change his wing again as well, as does Astrodite, so it looks like they might have gotten a bit of a tangle. under the safety car. So they will be at the back of the grid, and both of those drivers have some serious pace. So gonna see what they're able to do off the safety car restart.
Meanwhile,
Yeah, but
Yoda is leading this race, and he's playing musical throttle with his pedals right now. Musical pedals right now in that racing point behind the safety car with his telemetry. Like the comedian he is. Of course, Yoda, your driver's champion, runner-up this past season of MRL, now showing what he's made of here leading this race. 7-lap-old mediums, no damage on that car as far as the eye can tell.
well, I think I know why he's playing musical throttle, Striffy, and that's because it isn't Yoda driving at the moment.
What do you mean it's not Yoda driving?
I believe he's in AI mode at the moment.
What a guy! What a guy! Look at this. Look at this guy in AI. You've just been stream sniped, Yoda, and he knows it. He knows it. You see that flick back? Oh, now he's in.
Yeah, he's back in, and the safety car's coming in this lap
So
apparently.
it's extremely important that he got off of AI when he did, because if he didn't, we could see a massive amount of problems here. I think we're gonna see some kind of throttle locking here.
Yes, slow right down as Nigel picks up a 5-second penalty for a severe collision with Swifty. But nevertheless, we are green flag running for lap 19 of this Monaco Grand Prix. And Rackety has been disqualified for not serving his drive-through penalty.
No!
So that's very unfortunate for the Toro Rosso. So everyone will move up a spot. But Yoda looks like he's gotten a pretty good getaway off the restart. So they made their way into the hairpin once again.
Very
Basically,
unfortunate for Rackety.
Yeah, very unfortunate for the British driver. But it looks like the grid's sort of starting to spread out and then compress again, as we have multiple penalties being handed out by the stewards. I think it was Swifty and Nigel both taking up 3 seconds.
Oh, Nigel just
This
took
is
a
very
massive chunk
tight
of his
into
wing
the
off.
back. Oh, Wisp and John, very, very tight through to back in the swimming pool section. I don't think anything really prepared these drivers quite well enough for the challenge that is Monaco at night, Striffium.
Yeah, it's definitely something they have to adapt to. Not often you see it driven at night here. We saw Nigel there take a massive chunk off that front right wing. He did not head into the pits for a new one. Meanwhile, John, like you said, sticking super tight with the Wisp now. Alex Bitto on his rear.
Doesn't look like Wisp has got any damage, so I don't quite know why he's struggling so much. Maybe just those tires not feeling the best on that Mercedes. But he's definitely holding up this charging pack behind him. But of course, this is Monaco, so it is very, very difficult to overtake. Not impossible, but very difficult to say the least.
Well, as our league, as the MRL administrator, Mikau, I do believe it's you that can confirm whether or not we'll be seeing this in the next season. If I'm not mistaken, we are going to be seeing Monaco in the regular season. Ooh, and that's John with a big issue. He's into the wall. Alex Bitto and Bois move out in front of him.
Oh, there's a freeway spot as well at the last corner, as DRS has now been re-enabled, and we are halfway through this race, Triffium. We're only halfway.
Well, I do believe that's the last of the full safety cars. Well, no, we still have two more safety cars theoretically available. So we could still see a physical safety car, but we have not seen any VSCs yet.
I think any incident here is going to require a full safety car. And there's a yellow flag at the hairpin. Not entirely sure what was going on there. Just drivers going very, very slowly. It looks like the two McLarens are going to be fighting it out. Looks like Bois and Alex side by side into the Nouvelle chicane. Oh, there just isn't quite enough space. Bois cuts the chicane. And it's a bit touch and go with that pass there, Mr. Bois. But he will stay ahead of his teammate for the time being.
I wonder why he hasn't given that position back. Because I feel like he would be getting a yellow flag.
Well, it seems to be holding that position, at least for the time being.
Yeah, they've given it to him. They've given it to him here. Ooh, Alex. No. Oh.
Alex starting to fall asleep behind the wheel there. You know, you can't sleep around the streets of Monaco, my friend. And that is an end plate. Another end plate biting the dust there. So very unfortunate for the McLaren driver.
Henners now in fourth, Mikal. Trailing Nigel, who we know has wing damage right now. So far, I do believe Henry's clean, and if he keeps it clean, he could be looking for a good position here. Henry, of course, coming off of a win last night in Abu Dhabi.
Oh, Bois picking up another 3-second time penalty. As Wisp also gets by Alex Bitto, so that wing not helping. He hits the wall again at the back. So surely he'll have to pit. And Wisp hits the wall as well at the exit of the swimming pool. Let's see what Alex does. And yes, Alex does go into the pits. And there's another safety car.
Well, that could have worked out perfectly for Alex, John, CJ, and Astrolabe, as they were just rounding that final corner when it was deployed as well. So a lot of stops here. Astrolabe leading the pack in pit stops with 5, Mikal.
That is a lot of pit stops.
Now, we have exhausted 4 physical safety cars here in Monaco.
Oh, and Alex picking up a 5-second penalty for crossing the white line with pit exit. That's not something you see every day.
No, that's not
And Zamet, 3 seconds for corner cutting. Guys, come on. It's a safety car. No need to push the track. You know? But I'm sure those penalties will come back to bite at the end of the race. Especially if there's another safety car or virtual safety car towards the end of the race. And the field stays as bunched up as it has been basically the entire race.
It's going to be a very interesting finish to this race, I will say that. Nigel getting off the 15-lap old mediums, getting that wing change, Mikal, out of 3rd position. That means Henry is now into 3rd, which could be very good for him.
Oh, and Astrolabe picks up a drive-through.
Oh, my dear.
Yeah, Nigel serving that 5-second penalty in the pits.
Damas is getting a wing change as well. He's onto some hards.
Yeah, for some of these drivers, this has been an absolute nightmare around the streets of Monte Carlo. They just can't seem to keep it out of the barriers. It looks like Nigel will get it out ahead of Alex. So those two, their rivalry continues on.
I'm going to take this time during the safety car to do a shameless plug. This Saturday, this Saturday for our viewers, June 27th, 2 o'clock Central Daylight Time, 8 p.m. BST. We have a fantastic event. It is, of course, the MRL versus DMR. That's Delta Motor Racing event. It's going to be a 10 versus 10 of DMR drivers versus MRL drivers, and we're going to be giving away a Formula 1 2020 copy, Michael Schumacher edition. It's going to be a lot of fun, so make sure you smash that follow button and park it here on Saturday for your chance to win, and of course to enjoy some great racing. It's going to be the Canadian Grand Prix.
Yeah, hopefully not as many safety cars as we are experiencing around the streets of Monte Carlo. But nevertheless, you know, smash that follow button to stay up to date with all things Misfits Racing League. And feel free to join the Discord as well. We love seeing new members be a part of this amazing community that we have. And there's no penalties for joining that.
Has gone in for softs, Mikal. in 12th position. Looks like that's
Yep.
where he's going to come out, as Gadwin has pit behind him. What
And I do
a
believe he picked up
very dynamic
another
race.
I do believe he picked up another 5-second penalty as well for his troubles for speeding into the pit lane. So, absolute nightmare for these drivers.
I'm sure all of these drivers. I think the best way to approach Monaco is to barely approach it and take it with a grain of salt. At least that's in my experience, because the amount of damage that you can take in Monaco can be quite irritating. So best to just approach it with a grain of salt. Meanwhile, I do believe we're going to see that safety car in at the end of this lap. I certainly hope we do. And of course, we'll know in just a few moments.
Sure about that. Yeah, I'm not too sure about that one. Gadwin's still making his way around the hotel hairpin, but the safety car has been called in. So, can you give me the lotto numbers as well, Striffing? That'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah, 6, 9, 12. No. Those are my numbers.
They're your numbers. Yes, but so it looks like Yoda will be pacing the field, but he puts his foot down, and we are racing again. It is the start of lap 26.
Henry,
39 here.
ooh, he looked for it, Mikau. He really did. He was looking up that inside. Now Swifty has had a brush with the wall. That's Henry up the inside here on the restart. Oh my God. How did he make that move happen here on this restart? Swifty was just robbed. Bois, though, up the inside as well.
It's a Mirabeau. That's not a place you see every day. And Swifty's lost 2 positions off this restart. A horrible restart for the Red Bull. But Henry and Bois both making it their way up into the podium places and now chasing down Yoda, our race leader.
Swifty doesn't even appear to have any damage on that front left wing after that brush she had with the wall, which just tells you those 18-lap-old mediums right now aren't helping him at all. Freeware. Looking at Wisp, Mikau, they're close.
Yeah, we're going to see if he's going to make a dive into Larascas. He might, around the outside, it seems, even before the braking zone. So Freeware will be up into 5th place. As some of these drivers really struggling to get those tires working off the safety car restart. This Astrolite picks up another 5-second penalty for speeding into the pit lane.
Zamis,
so that's very unfortunate.
Into 10th ahead of Jean through the final 2 turns. And he's charging on those soft compound tires now. Nigel has now caught up with Wisp, looking to capture another position.
Goes semi-defensive into Mirabeau. But he goes very deep at the hairpin.
Ooh.
Gets a bit of a slide there. Just really struggling to get that car under control. And it looks like he lets Nigel by. And quite a few other drivers.
A lot of drivers by. Does he have damage on that front wing?
Yeah, he's missing a fair bit of that. Yeah, he's missing that right end plate. So probably not happy with it, and probably just thinking, I'll let these drivers by before I pit to change that front wing.
I was going to say, unless he doesn't have damage, like if he had damage there, or didn't have damage there, excuse me, I would have said he just got mugged for a massive amount of positions.
Yeah, well, DRS is now re-enabled. So hopefully that will help some passing opportunities in Saint-Devote, but I don't think there will be many. We haven't seen too many passes at the Saint-Devote actually at this race. It's more been Mirabeau, and it's been the chicane at Tabac and at Larascas, but not really many at Saint-Devote.
Damas on these 3-lap-old soft compound tires now sticking with CJ, and I do believe there was an end plate flying up the circuit towards him that may have been the car ahead of Alex. I'm going to check in with Nigel really quick here.
I think that was Alex, actually. Alex is missing that
he's
end
missing
plate.
Both end plates now.
Yeah, he gets a little bit too close to the wall at Portier.
CJ might not know. He's following very closely behind the rear of that McLaren right now. This could be ugly. Following a McLaren with damage is CJ right now, and that can be very difficult here in Monaco.
Interesting to see what Alex wants to do. There's a bit of a tank slapper out of Larascat.
Is right behind these two battling right now.
Henry's into the pit, so it looks like he's had a bit of an issue. Going to change that front wing after an amazing overtake off the restart. That is very unfortunate for the Alfa Romeo.
Zamis into 7th position, although it was not clean. He took a 3-second time penalty for cutting in that turn. He's on to his next target, though. He didn't have much of a choice there. He went up the inside, but there wasn't enough space to make the move, so he took the little bit of runoff that's available through turn 1. And he kept it clean as far as contact, but unfortunately he took that corner cutting penalty. Now he's currently fighting for 6th position, and Alex with that damage, I don't know what he's going to be able to do here through this tunnel, but Zamis has a horrible exit compared to Alex here, even without the damage.
Yeah, he just turned in slightly too early for Portier. Really had to just correct the steering just to avoid hitting the wall himself. But he is caught right back up to the back of that McLaren. You can just see the amount of understeer that Alex is experiencing as they make their way around the swimming pool and then into Larascas. Oh, it's very, very close to the back of that McLaren. But Zamis also has to keep one eye behind him as well for Jean B. Has
this is risky
ahead of it.
Ooh,
Alex
gave him that for sure. He let off for sure there. Not much sense in fighting these fast movers behind him. He's on the 18-lap old mediums, and he has very little of that front wing left, missing both those end plates. He's going to be feeling a massive amount of loss in that car. Meanwhile, Bois in 2nd position now. As you said, Henry pitting earlier on. Now he's on softs. Could be going for a fast lap here. He's on the freshest compound of tires on the circuit at the moment. But Bois looking at Yoda. Ooh, very tight here in the McLaren.
Yeah, and Yoda's hit the wall somewhere. He's missing that right end plate. But Bois is also missing the left end plate as well. So, both cars suffering a bit of a lack of downforce, and so they are even on that front.
Meanwhile,
but Swifty behind the third has no damage.
No damage on the 23-lap old mediums, Mikkel. He's been doing very well on those tires here so far. We saw him struggle at the last restart, but he has done well to maintain a solid position in this race, currently running in 3rd on the podium, right behind the front runners, and I think that was Bois taking that front left now. So he, or excuse me, it looks like he has taken a massive amount off of that front left wing. That has got to be at the very least an orange code wing on his MFD.
That looks red to me. That left-hand side is completely gone. All the elements and everything. Just having that right-hand side completely intact. So surely he'll have to pit. Surely. I mean, it's up to him. There's only about 9 laps left in this race. 8 once they make their way across the line.
If he wasn't pitting before, he certainly is now, McCaz. He's just taken another massive amount of that wing off. But he's staying out.
So he feels his defensive driving is good enough to hold the guys behind. So Yoda has a great opportunity to pull a gap. But as the laps keep ticking down and these gaps really aren't extending that much, penalties accumulated over the course of the race are going to become more and more prevalent as Bois defending really hard against Swifty J, who I think has now lost an end plate of his own, has the Red Bull driver. But Freeway is also closing up rapidly, and Zamis is not too behind them as well.
Can't blame Swifty for missing an end plate at this point in the race. McCow, he's on 24-lap old mediums. He's kept it clean up until that point on those tires, as far as I know. And, I mean, I wouldn't even be concerned of losing an end plate, but that's a massive crash. Who was that?
Zamis.
Oh, dear. Wisp,
And Zamas,
I believe, maybe DNFing. And we have another safety car here, and it's going to go down to a 5-lapper. So,
oh, and Yoda's pits. Yoda's missed the pits. That could be huge.
could be for him. He just wants to abuse track position here. It's going to be hard if everybody jumps onto fresh softs, and they are going to do so. It is also possible he has enough of a gap ahead of him to, no, I guess he wouldn't be able to overtake the safety car now, would he? So I guess he is stranded there.
Trying that along with Jean. So he's going to have Bois, Freeway, and, oh, Nigel actually, there's a bit of racing still going on out of the pit lane. Nigel will slot into 4th place on those fresh soft compound tires. So theoretically, I guess the undercut has worked for the Williams, and he is back in a podium contending position.
That damage forcing him into the pits, I think, saving grace for the Williams. As
A bit of a mix.
what luck he must have. As Fubar said it in the chat, what a script. And I couldn't have said it any better myself. This race has gone absolutely unbelievable.
It's had everything.
It's had everything except a VSC.
That is very, very true.
So this for us, at the very least for MRL, is a record-breaking 5 full safety cars. We've only seen 4 before, and that was in Tier 2 Baku. And if I'm being honest, that shouldn't have been 4 safety cars. There was some stupid deployments there for sure, but of course we're not going to get into that here. But we have 5 in Monaco.
Yeah, and we have a safety car for the remaining couple of laps. So Yoda and Jean both have a mammoth of a task to hold back Bois, Nigel, and Freeway. 3 very, very quick drivers on fresh softs with no wing damage. That is going to be quite the task. And of course, like I was saying earlier, you know, you have to stay focused. And all these penalties that these drivers have accumulated over the course of the race are now really going to bite, because this entire grid is going to be bunched up. So it'll be a question of who has drove the cleanest,
Yeah.
and kept their nose out of trouble, keep their car within their lines.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think
But I don't think there'll be any of action on the restart.
all of these soft runners, Mikhail, we got to watch them closely, because they're looking at this like a 5-lapper now. Means they're going to be pushing, and they're going to be pushing hard. And when you're pushing hard like that, you know, it's easy to make mistakes.
Mistakes, yeah. The safety car looks like it will be going around for one more lap as Gadwin attempts to catch the rest of the field. So looks like we will have 4 laps of green running at the end of this race. So all these drivers using this opportunity to save a bit of fuel, charge up that battery to 100%, make sure those tires are warmed up, ready for the sprint to the line. And it's quite literal sprint to the line.
It most definitely is, as the gap to leader right now is less than 8 seconds. And we aren't even completely bunched up, and I have to say, there is a multitude of penalties that are going to shake up this race finish.
Yeah, I look through and see, you know, who's sitting pretty right now, but there's so many of them that be here all day.
I think it's best to leave it to surprise at this point, Mikhail. It's we're on vacation technically. It's it's an exhibition, of course. No standings points on the line.
Yeah. But I don't think that has quashed any competition between these drivers as we've seen so far. They're all still gunning for that win. and trying to get as high up the field as they can. I think that's just for bragging rights, in all honesty.
Safety car crossing sector 3 line now, and it is coming in this lap.
So Yoda will pace the field and lead them away when he so chooses to start the final 4 laps of this race.
Oh, it's intense, Mikhail.
And Yoda's on 24-lap old mediums with a significant amount of wing damage as well. And all the guys behind him, aside from Jean, are on those fresh tires with no damage. But looks like Yoda has put his foot to the floor, and we are racing once again here in Monaco for the final 4 laps. Jean makes a massive mistake going into Saint-Devote, and he gets passed by both Bois and Nigel. So those 2 drivers have been released onto the struggling Yoda in that racing point, and there's action all across the field. Oh, there's too much. I can't even speak.
Alex Bitto in 7th now, coming down behind Swifty in that Red Bull on the mediums, and you can just see a huge difference in speed here, even with the softs being 2 laps older than those mediums. Meanwhile, Zamis and Astrodate wheel to wheel, exchanging positions here. Zamis looking at him through the tunnel. Is he going to make a move here? Has to keep it really tight to the inside wall coming out.
Mistake, he hit the wall at the chicane, and that has released Bois into the lead of this race.
Ooh, and Yoda dropped back a significant amount there. He's missing, doesn't look like he's missing too much more of that wing there. But Zamis takes a 3-second time penalty after multiple warnings, and that's Alex Bitto looking at Yoda right now very closely. Ooh.
Oh, and Yoda's retired from the race. Oh, you hate to see it. That damaged too much to continue on.
He was driving quite well, but those tires getting quite old, and that wing not doing him any favors. Alex Bitto now hunting down Swifty. Zamis on his rear in this fight for 6th at the moment. Meanwhile, Freeware, Jean, Nigel, and Bois all in extremely close proximity in this battle for the podium right now. That's Freeware looking at the inside of Jean. Gets his front right locked between his wheels. Didn't remove that end plate, though. Very fortunate for him.
Yeah, a dive like that at the hairpin's almost never going to work. There just isn't enough degrees of rotation in an F1 car. But Alex makes a massive dive on Swifty and gets it done at the chicane. Wow, what a move. So it looks like Bois still currently your race leader, get a little bit hairy out of the last corner as he starts the penultimate lap of this race. Alex setting the fastest lap so far with the 1:12.4. DRS has been enabled, and it will be available for these drivers on the final lap of this race. As Gadwin picking up a penalty, as Freeware as well, trying to go around the outside of Casino, side by side with Jean as they make their way into Mirabeau, and Freeware gets past for that final podium place.
Ooh, I believe that's Nigel. Took a big chunk of that end plate off. Somebody did.
Uh-oh.
I saw it.
Bois, it's a race
Oh, dear. It was Bois.
So Bois missing that left-hand side of his wing again.
He's going to be so pissed off. He's had so many different positions in this race, Mikhail.
He has to survive one more lap. I'm not sure how penalties will affect it, but I'm just going to assume that it isn't going to affect things too much at the moment. So Bois has one lap to hold off from the charging Williams behind him. To cross the line first at this Monaco GP for MRL. We're now on the final lap of this race, and
50.
It can't get any more time than this.
50 looking at Alex Bitto there. Zamis on his rear. Things are heating up here on the final lap of this race. Gadon and CJ exchanging.
Look how tight this field is. You can just see on the map how tight it is. There's a lot of Renault front wing being
Oh, and that Zamis getting locked in the flower bed. No. No. Oh, man. Right on that inside wall.
My attention on these front two. Bois doing a very, very good job to keep that Williams behind him for the moment. They made their way into back for the final time. Into the swimming pool section they go. Bois just needs to hold on for a couple more corners. It's the final real overtake opportunity. Goes defensive into Larascats, parking it on the apex.
Ooh, very tight.
Slow into the final corner. It's going to be a run up to the line, but Bois will cross the line first. But how will penalties affect things? You can see the grid shuffles up massively.
That's a huge shuffle.
It looks like Nigel will take the win here in Monte Carlo. What a race.
Wow.
My goodness. I'm speechless.
That's crazy.
Absolutely no words can describe that race that we just witnessed, but it is Nigel finishing on the top step of the podium. So many congratulations to him. Kept it clean for the majority of the race. Received the least amount of penalties, and that'll be Jean and Bois rounding off the final two podium spots. Great result for Jean. You know,
very
gambled
good
with
race.
that strategy to not pit under the safety car, and it's paid off for him. So Jean will get P2 in this race. Bois will rounding off the podium, and then the rest of the points are as follows: Henry in that 4th place, followed by Freeway in 5th, Gadwin in 6th, Swifty J in 7th, Astrodite in 8th, Alex in 9th, and CJ rounding off the top 10 and the point scorers for this race. Unfortunate for our DNFing drivers, Yoda, Wisp, Max, and Rackety.
Yeah, Rackety, very unfortunate circumstances for him, of course, being disqualified due to the failure to serve a drive-through penalty. It was very unique, considering it was he had 1 lap to do it between 2 safety cars, and unfortunately he did not get it done. But it was a fantastic race here in Monaco.
I'm speechless still. That was incredible on all fronts.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. Almost sad that it wasn't a part of the MRL season this past time round, but of course we only had a certain amount of time, and we voted on the circuits for our previous season. Of course, next season we are going to be doing a full 22 race season, so that's something to look forward to.
Most definitely.
Happy birthday to Powell662. I hope I said that right for Mr. Alex Bitto. Anyway, that is going to wrap up the Monaco Grand Prix exhibition race today here for MRL. I just want to give a big shout out to all of our followers today, as well as our subscribers and those gifted subs from BTFU and Mr. Walter gifting subscriptions today. Mr. Walter getting a gifted subscription from BTFU, and then gifting a subscription himself to Streamlabs, and of course Fubar with the tier 1 sub. With all of the followers as well, I just want to thank you by name: First Class Joker, Bon John, Pain Devil, Gio Brio, F Bido, Jutiant, and IGK, ENZ, Tiger Racing, E Skills. Thank you guys all for the follows today. Greatly appreciate that. And of course, if you haven't followed, I highly suggest you do so, as we are going to be having a lot of racing action coming your way in F1 2020. And not just in 2020, this coming weekend we have quite a few, well, not quite a few, we have a couple of different racing events happening. This Saturday, our DMR versus MRL event, and then on Sunday we have a event, another exhibition race for MRL, except this time it will be featuring Formula 1 racing driver Nicholas Latifi. So, with all that being said and done, I'm going to give Mr. Funky JJ the opportunity to post a link in the chat as he's requested. Mikow, do you have any final words for our viewers?
Uh, Nothing of note really. Like you've gone through the events that we have coming up, and just be sure to smash that follow button to stay up to date with what's going on. Join the Discord if you want to become a part of this amazing community. And stay tuned for when F1 2020 drops. We'll be doing a range of events leading up to the third season of the Misfits Racing League.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that that's it for us tonight. Didn't get 2 races in today like previous weeks with both tiers, but we're gonna go ahead and end things off there. And we will hopefully see all of you next week. Perhaps we'll do another race that we didn't do this previous season, or maybe something of a different flavor. Perhaps some classic cars or something like that. Of course, we'll take a vote amongst the drivers and see what everybody wants to do in their off season. And thank you to everybody who tuned in. That is going to be it for us. Thanks for watching, guys. We hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure you smash that like button to let us know, and of course, subscribe to the channel if you're interested in more great racing content. We are live on Twitch every week on twitch.tv Misfits Racing League. Hit us up in the description below for our Discord and Twitter links as well. Always looking to get connected on those, and if you're interested in joining the MRL, Discord is the place to be. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on our next video.